This is a discussion of how to complete the new project application in eSNAPS for 2017 COC funding. We are here at the opening page of eSNAPS. Please note that there are other trainings for both renewal applications and applicant profile completion. The first thing you should do is not only just log into eSNAPS like I'm about to do here, but make sure that when you do so that you do your applicant profile first as an agency, so that all your information that pulls into your Exhibit 2 or project applications is accurate and complete for your agency. It's really important that your applicant profile be complete. When you log into eSNAPS, you can accept their rules of behavior, and then this is where you would find the applicant profile to complete. This is now where we're going to head, because we're going to make sure that we have the opportunity to apply for a new project application in FY 2017. This will only apply if your COC has awarded you new project funding or an expansion project funding for this year. If you have a renewal project, you will not be doing it as a new project. You'll be registering and creating a renewal project, so see the other webinar for that. This new project application, first we go to funding opportunity registrations, because the application is not just in here in eSNAPS for the taking. First, we have to register your agency to apply for this project. So as you can see here, new project application FY 2017 is what we're going for. And in order to create it, we can click on the piece of paper with the red check mark. So when you do that, it'll take you to a screen where you can select which or enter the information of what you would like to, if you want to confirm that you want to register your agency for this. So obviously I've already registered my agency, so it says that, but if you haven't registered yet, it'll ask you if you really want to do it, and you can click yes, and then you can go back. If you are also registering for another funding opportunity, such as if you are not just doing a new application, but you also have renewal applications, then you can go back to the funding registration page in eSNAPS here and do that as well while you're already here. However, that's for another webinar. For right now, we're just going to accept that we've registered our agency for this funding opportunity for a new project, but that doesn't mean that the project is already out there ready for us to complete. We've just registered our agency. We have to go to this projects page to create the submission. So once we're there, we'll be able to see which funding opportunity registrations we are able to create projects for. So the list that you'll see here is all of the project names that have been created already. If I don't have a new project application already created here, or I need to create a new one, I can sort by funding opportunity, and you can see that I can sort and find just the new project applications for FY 2017. And once I do that, then you'll see that just those funding opportunities will come up in a moment. Of course, eSNAPS is in the thick of it this year already for the COC process, so it takes a while. And you can see that I have the 2017 new project example here. That's the one we'll be diving into, and I could edit the project name if I needed to here. But if you have a blank list here, it means you haven't created a new project yet. Or if you need to create another new project, you have to click on this little piece of paper with the orange plus sign. And now we are going to create the new project application. We're going to create the submission form. And it's going to give you the opportunity to name this project application. Okay, so you could enter the project name. Okay, and you can either save and add another. If you have another, just save so you know it's good, or you can click save and go back to the project list. Okay. And once you've done that, you'll be able to see your project in this project list, And once you see your project in this project list, that means you can actually go and start completing your application. So where you've registered your agency, you've created the project, and now you need to find the form in the submissions tab. So you go in the left-hand gray bar and click on submissions. And depending on how many times your agency has applied for funding, you may have multiple pages of submissions. You can see there's page numbers here. So you may need to navigate or sort here for the different projects that you do have. But if you see it here, I see my 2017 new project example. That's the one I want to work on. In order to access the submission, I click on the orange folder here with the gray piece of paper popping out. Okay, and that'll take me to the submission form that we've just created. All right, and once we're into this form, you'll see that not all of the pages are here already. If you're familiar with doing other submissions, only section 1 and a summary page are visible right now, and that's because this form requires you to certify all of the basic project and agency information prior to completing all of the rest of the application. So don't freak out if you're worried that all of the information you thought you're going to have to complete isn't there yet. Couple things to make sure of before you get to panic mode is make sure that your applicant profile is up to date and completed and submitted. And that is the other webinar that you have available to you for creating your applicant profile and updating it. And then you can also make sure that you look at the additional training resources here that are available from HUD. Otherwise, you can just click next. And most of the information that is grayed out here in section 1 is stuff you don't need to fill out, so don't worry about it. And a lot of this information is pulling in from your applicant profile. So whether or not there's something missing might mean that you have to update your applicant profile before you continue. Otherwise, you can just click through and say next. In the congressional district piece, you're going to have to make sure all this information is up to date. Make sure that your proposed project start and end date are from 2018 to 2019. This is FY 2017 funding, but it won't be awarded under grant agreement until 2018. And so if you're a one-year proposal, it'll go from 2018 to 2019. Once you're done with that, you can click Save and Next. SF 424 compliance, make sure you check. Most folks, it's going to be that you're subject to State Executive Order 12372, but you haven't been selected for review. If you have been selected, make sure that you say that you are subject to review, and you can put the date of when you made the application available for review. But most folks are going to be answering B, program is subject but not selected. If you're delinquent on a federal debt, make sure you answer yes and explain, and also notify your COC. But most of us hopefully will just be able to answer no and click Save and Next. Very important in eSNAPS to click Save whenever you're entering data, or Save and Next or Save and Back, so that all of your information stays and you don't lose anything that you complete. SF 424 declaration, we're just asking your certified official to agree that all the assurances here are accurate. You can click Save and Next. Your 2880 information, this is stuff that's in the applicant profile webinar, so please go and check that out. And don't be surprised if you see information about multiple of your COC projects in this one form that you thought was just about your new project application. That's the way that HUD has changed the 2880 format. So stuff that's in your applicant profile that pertains to all of your COC awards may pull into even your specific single project application. So don't be worried about that. Just take note and make sure everything is accurately completed in your applicant profile. Then you can have your certifying official sign off and agree, and you can click Save and Next. Okay, now the HUD 50070 is just about drug-free workplace certification. Used to be something you had to sign outside of eSNAPS. Now it's just a checkmark certification from your certifying or authorized representative. Another certification regarding lobbying activities, and then one more about lobbying activities, asking whether or not you do participate in federal lobbying activities with a registered lobbyist. You can either answer no or yes as appropriate and fill out your agency's name. And then here is where the last certification is. And once I complete this form, if everything's been complete in section 1, I'm then going to be able to access the rest of my application. So you can see right now I just have section 1. If I certify that this form on SFLLL, another lobbying activities form, is complete, and then I do save and next, you'll see that now all the rest of the application has appeared, and I can go and complete them as necessary. So for project subrecipients, if I have any other entity that's receiving funding through this grant, such as someone who's a sponsor agency but who receives part of the COC funding, like sharing in the admin or support service dollars, I have to click this piece of paper with the orange plus sign and enter all the organization information. We'll just give you a peek at that. And you can see you need their organization name, tax ID, DUNS, address, the geographic area or congressional district that they cover, and information about their agency and contact information. If you need to add that information in because you do have a subrecipient, you can do save and back to list. I'm just going to do back to list because we don't have any subrecipients. Okay, so once that's done, you'll see the information in the list and you can click next. This is a section on the experience of the applicant, subrecipient, and partners. Make sure that you do say whether there are any unresolved monitoring findings from HUD in addition to the basic management structure and experience of the parties. Once you're done, you can click save and next. Make sure you label the COC name and number and the COC applicant name, your project status, and then your component type, if it's permanent housing, etc., and confirm all this information. You can click Save and Next. You're describing your project in section 3B and the schedule for completing information, whether or not you're participating in the coordinated entry. HUD requires it, but your COC may not yet have it up and running, so you can confer with your COC as to whether you have to answer yes. Most should be answering yes. Your subpopulations, these are all the populations that you're equipped to serve in your new project proposal. It doesn't just have to be who it's dedicated to. You don't just have to say chronically homeless. If you're going to have chronically homeless persons and you have the wherewithal to serve those with substance abuse, mental illness, HIV, and families, you can check all of those boxes. Housing first section, asking you whether you quickly move folks into housing, and or the section here is asking about what barriers you may have to entry or barriers or reasons for termination that are outside of the realm of what you're required to have in terms of qualifications for folks in your program per the COC funding itself. Make sure that if you're checking off these boxes that it's accurate to how your program actually operates. If you do select that you are operating as a housing first model, your COC and HUD can monitor that by taking a look at how you're actually operating your program and can hold you accountable for what you're saying here. But also know that the higher the barriers there are in our projects, it does impact our COC's scores. So please make sure that you're doing that accurately. Okay. Make sure that you are answering the rest of the questions here about whether it's permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing if it's a housing project, and where folks are dwelling. And then this is a new question this year about whether it's going to be 100% dedicated to the chronically homeless or dedicated plus for a permanent housing project. So make sure you do that accurately, and you can read here, and I would also direct you to the NOFA regarding the definition of dedicated plus. It's a new thing that HUD has started this year, so please make sure that you select what is accurate for your program target population. Okay, when you're done with that, you can click Save and Next. And then this is a question about whether or not this new application is an expansion. If it is an expansion and you select yes, you will have to find that if it is a project with the same component type and it's a renewal, you will have to enter the program's grant number, which is the first 6 digits of your grant number, and then the grant name. So make sure that you fill that out, and then you're going to have to explain, if it is an expansion, what the reason is for this expansion, what project activities will be expanded, and then of those, you're going to have to justify why there's a need for those resources to do that expansion. If you're not an expansion, or you're just doing a new project that is not an expansion, then you can just select no. Either way, once you're done with this section, you can click Save and Next. For supportive services, if you are a family serving program, if you have any households that you're targeting with adults and children in them, you must select yes, that your proposed policies are consistent with laws providing educational services, and you must select yes, that you have a staff person designated to ensure that they are enrolled. That's just a requirement that HUD has for any new project that is going to serve households with both adults and children in them, or family units. Describe how they'll attain permanent housing and how you'll assist them with services to maximize living independently. All the services, who's going to provide them, applicant, subrecipient, partner, or non-partner, and how often. And then you can also give the information about transportation, the forms used for accessing mainstream programs, and access to SSI technical assistance, or SSD technical assistance. If you do answer yes to question 6, you'll see that there's going to be a 6A that pops up about how frequently folks are trained, or how recently they've been trained on SOAR protocols. All right, you can click Save and Next once you're done with that section. Then 4B, housing type and location. If there's nothing in this list, you need to add it, and it'll be the unit mix and bed mix. You can click on this piece of paper with the orange plus sign, and that'll take you to the form that allows you to select the housing type, whether it's scattered site apartments or project-based. Click the number of units and beds that you're going to serve, and how many of these beds are going to be dedicated to the chronically homeless. If it's a project-based location, you can put in the street address. Otherwise, you can put in scattered sites and the rest of the information. Make sure you select the geographic areas that are pertinent to this project, and then you can click either Save and Add Another if you're adding another blend of units, or you can do Save and Back to List in order to save your progress. Once you're done with that, you'll see the information pop up here in the list about the units and bed mix, so you'll be able to check whether or not it was saved. Okay, you can click Next and go on to section 5A about project participants. So this is the number of households that you'll be serving, either adults with children or adults without children, which would be individual households, and over here would be youth households. So that would be households with only children under the age of 18, okay, if you're a youth serving program. And then within those households mix, you're going to be doing the age range populations. So make sure that you fill this out completely, and that the total number of persons adds up to the total number of beds that you stated and laid out in your housing type, and that's section 4B. Okay, once you're done with this section, you can click Save and Next. 5B, make sure that you are at least matching the same blend of persons and households that you stated you would serve in section 5A. Otherwise, you're going to get an error message. Okay, if you are going to serve persons not represented by listed subpopulations, let's say you're serving homeless persons, but they don't have to be chronically homeless, then you can make sure that you list them here in the persons not represented by stated subpopulations, but those are going to need an explanation. There will be a text box that pops up here at the bottom of Form 5B, and you'll have to just explain that, you know, you're not serving folks or targeting folks with any specific type of disabling condition. It would just be homeless persons with a disability. Otherwise, make sure you complete all of this section that's pertinent. It'll only be available to you to fill out if you're only serving families. This is the only section that will be available. If you're only serving individuals, only this section, etc. Once you're done, you can click Next. Outreach, let HUD know what percentage of folks are going to come from different locations, and describe your outreach plan. Complete that, and you can click Save and Next. Funding request, is it okay to assume that you can get under grant agreement by September 30th of 2019? We really, really hope so, because we're hoping you can do it by middle of next year in 2018. Is the project proposing to use funds reallocated? You need to make sure that you know from your COC whether this new project is applying for permanent housing bonus dollars or from reallocation monies. If you are uncertain, make sure you ask either your COC lead agency or Monarch to confirm what you should be putting here. Does this propose to allocate funds according to indirect cost rate? Make sure you check internally within your agency about that. Select a grant term. Most are probably going to be 1 year new applications, but make sure you check again with what you were awarded from your COC. And then this is really important to select the costs for which funding is being requested. Make sure you only request costs for those eligible activities that the COC awarded you for. So for instance, if you did not get awarded HIMSS monies, don't check off HIMSS. Only check off rental assistance if you're just getting rental assistance, leasing and operating if you're just getting leasing and operating. I just checked all of these off myself here because I want to show you what it's going to look like in terms of requesting any type of funding here. All right, so just check off the boxes that you are going to be requesting monies for based on your COC award, and make sure you do check them because it'll make, otherwise you won't be able to request the money. Once you're done, you can click Save and Next. If you're requesting lease units, if it's a leasing project, click the paper with the orange plus sign, and that'll let you describe where the FMR locality is and what the rents are per units that you're going to be requesting, and then you'll be able to get a sum of what your total request is. You can either add another or go back to the list, and you will be able to see your unit requests down here. Okay, you can click Save and Next. And then if you have a rental assistance project, you can do the same thing here that we just did in the leasing segment. You can choose which type of rental assistance it is, project-based, sponsor-based, or tenant-based, and then the FMR region that you're applying for, and then the blend of units, and it'll all add up to what your total request should be in terms of rental assistance. Then you can click and save and add another, or save and back to list, and you'll be able to see your unit mix down here if you have a rental assistance project. Okay. Next, please describe the quantity and description of the eligible activities that you'll be using a supportive services budget for if you are receiving COC funds for supportive services. If you're using match to provide supportive services, you don't need to fill this out, and you shouldn't have checked supportive services. This is only for those who will be requesting support services as part of their COC award. Okay, once you're done with that, you can click Save and Next. In operating, make sure, again, same as supportive services, if you have a leasing project that is requesting operating, you can fill out the quantity and description of what you're requesting monies for, and it all should add up to your total award from the COC. Otherwise, you shouldn't be requesting operating monies, and you can click Save and Next if you do. Okay, HIMSS budget, same thing, quantity and description should add up to your total request that's been awarded by the COC. You can click Save and Next. And here you get to sources of match. So very important, like I was saying, information about this match sources. If you do have an in-kind match source, meaning that it's not coming from either you as a grantee or a subrecipient who's getting COC funding, then you have to make sure that you note that it's going to ask you here to attach an MOU for an in-kind match commitment. Okay, so if you are requesting funds and the match is coming from a source that's not your agency or someone receiving monies through the grant like a subrecipient, you're going to have to document an agreement with the agency or entity that's providing the match with an MOU or a memorandum of understanding detailing the responsibilities and commitments of each party to providing the services or the match commitment for that project. So let's go back here. In order to add a source of match, you can see I have a source right here. I can remove it by clicking the red X, or I can add another one, or go do that by clicking on the piece of paper with the orange plus sign. If I want to view the one that's in my list or update it, I can just click on the gray magnifying glass. You can see that I have a in-kind source from an entity that, let's pretend, is not my agency. If it were my agency, I could change it to a cash match, and I would not have the requirement of putting in an MOU attachment, which would show an agreement with me and the committing entity. but that's only if this source of match is from a subrecipient or a direct recipient grantee. Okay, so that's the way that it would be oriented. If you do have an in-kind, make sure you upload the MOU or agreement between you as an agency and whoever's providing the match. You can do save and add another if you have more match sources, or you can do save and back to list. Okay. Then you can do save and next once your match is complete. Note that it will show up in red here if you're not meeting the minimum match requirement. So based on what you're requesting, your match requirement must be 25% of the award minus leasing dollars. And then also if you're receiving some of the match that you're committing is going to be program income that's generated through this project, make sure you do note that and explain you know, if you are, what the source is. Okay, and click Save and Next. Go on to the Summary Budget, Section 6J. This should be a summary of all the things that you've already put into your budget. The only thing you have to add here is administrative costs, and this total assistance plus admin line should total the budget that your COC awarded you. So make sure that that's what it does, that it actually adds up the way it should. Monarch will be reviewing budgets, but please make sure that it's up to date, and make sure you put your admin amount in here. To get it to add up properly, you can click Save, or you can click Save and Next once you're done. Okay. In attachments, if you're a nonprofit and not a government entity, make sure you upload your 501c3 documentation. That is, if you have a subrecipient who's a nonprofit, excuse me, and make sure, because any subrecipient must be a nonprofit. So if you are passing along any monies for grant activities, make sure you upload your partner agency that was named in Section 2A, upload their nonprofit documentation. Also, other attachments, make sure you upload your match letter showing that you meet the match requirement. It'll save you time and effort because it'll keep you from having an issue when HUD awards their grant to you. Okay, once you're done with the attachments, oh, and let me just give you an example of how to attach something. If I wanted to upload the 501c3, I would click on this word. I could type in a document description, and then I could choose a file, and that'll pop up a window on my computer that asks me to look for the piece or the attachment, which is my letter looking for or from the IRS about 501c3 status. Then I can click Save and Back to List. Okay. Then you can click Next after attachments. This would be the MOU since I labeled my matches in kind. You wouldn't have this if you had cash match. You can click Next once you've uploaded that. Certification, again, this is your certifying or authorized representative, just signing off that everything you said in your application is true. You can click Save and Next. Okay, and then here I have a submission summary. If I had gray check marks next to everything, I would be good to go. But you can see here that there's some notes that I could click on and address all the things that I'm missing in my application in these various sections with the red X's. So I need to still complete those. You can see that my submit button is grayed out because I haven't completed everything. Once you have completed everything for your new project application, please don't submit until Monarch has reviewed your application. You can click Export to PDF, okay, and then you can check off which sections, and we want all sections to be included in the PDF. You can click Export to PDF, and that'll give you a copy of your application draft so you can send it to Monarch for review, okay? So again, this is going back to the summary here, and you can see that I haven't completed mine, but I'm sure you'll complete yours in good order. Just so you know what Monarch reviews, we do an overall review, but depending on how much time we have at this busy season of the year for COCs, we do definitely check the budget to make sure it matches with the COC award. We definitely check match and leveraging to make sure that you're meeting that requirement, since that's a threshold requirement. And we also make sure that you have the accurate project component type and accurate description of your prioritization for chronically homeless. So those are things that we definitely check. If you have any specific issues that you run up against that weren't addressed in the webinar, again, I would refer you back to the before starting page, and you can see that there are HUD Exchange resources on doing this application. Also refer to the NOFA for things that you're not understanding, such as the dedicated plus definition, which is also in the eSNAPS form regarding that question. And if all else fails, you can reach out to your friends at Monarch, and we'll try and help you through it. But this has been your new projects application tutorial. I hope it's been helpful, and good luck out there, everybody. Thanks.